fairly loose. What I can tell you is these tyres are way past it. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'd know what a big fan I am of the old Porsche 928. Beautiful, isn't it? And you know, I felt very fortunate when I bought this one at auction earlier this year. There are plenty of videos about it already on the channel. The thing is, I never stopped looking at the auctions and I never stopped throwing in the occasional bid, and that can lead to some very bad outcomes. So consequently, accidentally or not, I am now the owner of 3 Porsche 928S's, each one more beautiful than the one before. Here we have a 1981 3-speed automatic, and here we have la creme de la creme 1980 5-speed manual no sunroof car that I bought at auction, sight unseen, like the other cars, 2 weeks ago. Today's the story of how I got it home, and how I am clearly, undeniably, certifiably, stark raving bonkers. Look at that. Manual gearbox. Haven't seen one for a while, have you? No. Theft prevention device for anyone under 30. I'll show you how it works. It's 5th, 4th, back to 3rd with a bit of double shuffle. Need a little bit of help to go in there. 3rd, 4th, fast but not too fast. It's not that fast a gearbox. 5th. How good is that? In a 928. I see a Porsche. I think it's petrol blue. Is that the colour?
This one?
Yeah, petrol blue.
Yep.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah, we've done. The guy did an excellent job. You know, I had to get all this from the States.
Wow.
It's all new. It's all been, and all the rubbers have been done.
And these are later 928 seats.
Yeah.
And the leather's beautiful. First impressions, I am gobsmacked. It's way, way better than I thought it would be. It's a beautiful car. Manual. Let's see if it can take me 1,000 kilometres back home without a problem. 42-year-old car. Yeah, so the plan is I'll drive home about 5 or 6 hours today, another 6 hours tomorrow, taking the long way home, as you would. And first gear, oh, a little hard to get in there. It's not super happy doing that. Didn't stall. Bit a second. Yeah, quite a... Third's happier now. Yeah, quite a heavy feel on the gear lever. What can I say? Been on the road for about 2 hours since I picked it up. Sight unseen at auction. And probably the 4th or 5th time I've bought a car and picked it up interstate and then decided to drive it home. But how risky is that? Would you say that's fairly ambitious? I couldn't put it on the trailer. Life's about the adventure. Let's see what goes wrong. My first 928 with a manual gearbox. The only Porsches that I've had with automatic gearboxes have been 928s, but finally I have the holy grail. No sunroof, manual gearbox, early 928. 5th, 4th, 3rd. Makes kind of Porsche-like noises. It's quite a long throw, fairly sloppy gate transmission, but doesn't matter. It's just beautiful. Clutch takes right at the top. Yeah, it pulls all right. Okay, first impressions. Motor, really good. Idles quietly, nice and smooth. Steering, a little bit floaty. It's just, I think the shocks and springs are both a bit tired. It's not sagging. It's quite high. The ride height's perfect. Brake pedal, nice and firm. Normally cars like this have puffed up old brake lines that swell over age and you get a soft pedal. It takes a while, but no, that's good. The aircon actually seems to work. He didn't think it was working, but it is. I can feel it's blowing nice air-conditioned air. And the interior and everything is just amazing. He spent an absolute fortune on these seats. And the trim, it's better than I deserve. I don't deserve a nice car like this. Maybe you do. It's beautiful. Fourth. Yeah, we know and love the Porsche flat 6 sound, but the 928 V8 motor is just a glorious, glorious V8. The wheel moves with the binnacle. It's the first car to do that, as you can see. But you can't bring the wheel any closer. Thankfully, good long straight driving position. It's actually a really good position. We've got a coupe with a V8, manual gearbox. All is good with the world. Second, yeah, it's cool. Absolutely neutral car, 50-50 weight balance. You feel like you're right at the centre of it, as you are. We're actually sitting in the back half of the car here. Of course, very, very complex for its day, hugely over-engineered, quite problematic now because they're 40 years old. There are many, many good reasons not to buy a 928. So unless you're an aficionado and you're prepared to put the time into one, don't. Even though there's a big heavy V8 up front, we're sitting down the back. And the gearbox and the differential and the fuel tanker, of course, are all back here, balances the weight out. So they feel incredibly well balanced and just really involving to drive in an old school kind of way. So it's old school without being daggy, you know, it's still a really nice driver's car. Now when I first saw one of these was in 1980 at the Porsche Club Concourse, and one of these turned up and we all went, wow, that is weird, it doesn't have any bumper bars, where are they? They were inside the plastic outer covers, the first car to do that. So many innovations with this car, and to be honest, none of the 911 owners, including me, thought very much of it. We thought it was just weird and would never catch on. And yet now, 40 years later, it just looks better and better every day, particularly when you compare it to the modern kind of overstyled, too many curves, too many folds cars. This thing's just got such simple, elegant lines, and it's just a thing of great beauty, in my humble opinion. Have you got the bug for a car like this, or is it just an old man's daggy car?
What is that, sir? That, Charles, is my new Porsche 928 S4. Shall I have the chauffeur put it in the garage? Fire the chauffeur. What a self-important twat.
Okay, so now we've got out of Melbourne, out across Gippsland, through all the bleak, dreary weather, and we're out in the beautiful sunshine now. We've got some nice roads coming up. Look, if you've ever looked at these cars and thought, I'd like one of those, go for a drive in one. Find someone who's got one and go for a run. And then decide. You might decide it's just way too old, or you might go, this thing's actually beautiful. But be warned, they're a money pit because they're 40 years old. So the wiring loom's had it, it's got oil seeped right through it. There's so much that's going to need changing. Anything made out of rubber or that's been exposed to the elements or fuel lines, and they're potentially a fire risk. You know, there's a whole lot of reasons you can find out not to get one. But if you do like them and you've got the bug, let's find out a little bit about them. The 928 was released in 1978, became Car of the Year in Europe straight away. I think the first sports car to do so, and I don't think there's been a sports car since that's been European Car of the Year. I'm looking for 6th gear, I'm already in 5th. So in Australia they were first released here in 1980 as just the plain old 928 with a 4.5 litre single overhead cam V8, or shortly thereafter the S version, which had a 4.7 litre. Now arguably the 4.5 is the nicer motor. It's a sweeter running motor, but it's not nearly the same power. I like the 4.7. I've had a number of them. This is a 4.7. In the early 80s out came the S2, which is pretty much the same. Came as a 5-speed manual, rarely, but mainly a 3-speed initially and then a 4-speed automatic. Up till 84, they were a 3-speed automatic. From 84 onwards, 4-speed. Do you know 6 out of 7 928s ever sold were automatics? No 5, 6, 7 or 8 speeds in an old 928. 3-speed or 4-speed. In a car that could do 160 miles an hour, 250 k's an hour. 3 speeds. Imagine how tall first gear was. Yes, first gear in a 3-speed 928 ran to 110 k's an hour, about 70 miles an hour. And they're a torquey motor up top, but not down low. So they're not a traffic light Grand Prix car. They don't pull that well. Anyway, that original body shape stayed right through the original Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, which came out in 86. They went to a 5-litre motor. And then the Series 4 came out in 1987 with a different body shape. This is the later, more rounded body shape. Very desirable. However, there's been a resurgence of interest in these older cars, particularly if they've got the Pasha interior, the manual gearbox, and no sunroof. Why no sunroof? Gives you an extra couple of inches of headroom if you're tall, and also they tend to leak, and they're the world's most useless sunroofs. They're about this wide, so you'd be better off without one. So I wonder if we can overtake this guy in a minute. I reckon we can. Let's give it a go. I'd say that's a yes. Get on the brakes again. 3rd gear pull, then went straight back to 5th. It's a reverse dogleg gearbox, as you can see. That's actually 5th now. 2nd and 3rd on the same plane, 4th and 5th on the same plane. That's typically how you use it in the Autobahn. If you're on the track, you'd be all 2nd and 3rd. If you're on the Autobahn, 4th and 5th. The S4 Series 928 was from 87 right through till 1989, when the GT was also released. The S4 carried on, but the GT was the one to have, because that was manual only, unusually, and hotter cams, lighter weight, just warmed up. That was a car you could actually take to the track. And then in 92 came out the GTS, which was flared guards, 5.4 litres, a lot more power. It upped the GT's horsepower to 350, and that was a beast of a car. They were a really good car, a lot more torque, but heavier. So they were sort of known as the Fat Cat Express. They're very desirable still, almost always automatic. Only 5 were sold in Australia as manuals. 2 of those cars I knew, a white one and a red one. They're both crashed and written off by now. But a few people took their automatic GTSs and converted them back to manuals. Seemed like a good idea. Only to find later on that they're actually worth more now back as the automatic in the original trim. Manual or automatic, doesn't matter. If you can find a GTS, they're fabulous cars. And worth a lot more than this. When this came out, this was the pinnacle of what Porsche could do. They saw this as their flagship car, even ahead of the 911 Turbo. And nowadays, people don't think that way. A 911 Turbo from 1980, 83, this is an 80 model car, is worth 300 grand in pristine condition. This car, well under 50 grand. So isn't it funny how your taste and perceptions change? This car, I think, is a bargain if you can find a good one. And I think it is a good one. And I'm very, very happy. It's running like a Swiss watch at the moment. All the dials looking good. There's no unnecessary creaks and rattles. So are they a bargain? You decide. And I would like to thank at this stage Paul, but I'm the lucky boy that ended up with it, so I'm very happy. Thank you, Paul. Hope you're watching the video.
Oh good, this is what marketing has come up with for the new 928. Perfect.
The motoring correspondents of the international press have called it one of the most beautiful sports cars in the world.
All right, can we just lose the violins, though? That's very cliched. We don't need any more Vivaldi.
In advancing the frontiers of automotive technology.
How about some nice harp and piano music? Oh yes, that's much better.
Worldwide, the Porsche 928S is synonymous with exclusive, advanced sports car engineering. A product name that stands for a variety of features.
Good. Now I want to see a business executive and make sure he's got a briefcase. Yes, that's good.
Like its 8-cylinder light alloy engine, producing 221 kilowatts or 300 brake horsepower.
All right, now we need some performance shots. Good. Although try not to knock the taillight off the Rolls Royce next time as you overtake. Okay, wet cornering. Good.
Immunity to side.
Yes, and now we need to demonstrate the braking, but make sure you don't lock up. Oh God, I can't wait till they invent ABS.
Servicing and oil changes only every 20,000 kilometres.
All right, forget about performance. Let's show, oh yes, perfect, that's what we want. The well-to-do family, engaging in leisure times. Although I think that little girl might be a bit too big. Can you get a smaller one next time? Don't slam the boot. Oh God. Don't worry about the trolley, that's fine. Oh yes, that's much better. Yes, up to the chateau. Well, I'm not sure about the ducks and the frogs and the... Oh no, 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 that's no good. Jeans and a t-shirt and sandals, come on. No, I want chinos and a jacket. It's a Porsche, not a Fiat. Come on. And we can lose the ducks as well. And don't slam in the boot. Oh God. It's not going to last 40 years if you keep doing that, buddy. Day 2. Good morning. Good night's sleep. Let's see how she starts. In case you're wondering where it is, this is Merimbula, south coast of New South Wales. Getrag gearbox, fairly balky, heavy, sticky, very old school. Takes a bit of love. Got to warm up like an old Ferrari box. And off we go. What a pretty town, eh? We're not going back via the main Princes Highway, we've taken the inland route, so we're going to head across over Brown Mountain and back towards Canberra. A long detour, it's not a very well travelled road. There's no phone reception out for most of it with my carrier, so fingers crossed. The car was an absolute pearl, as you gather yesterday, went better than expected, no dramas. This is not a modern car, this is decidedly old school. It's an enthusiast's car. Let's just say that the electronics and connections and rubber bits and so much of this car's probably got a reasonable 30-year lifespan, but this car's 43 years old, so already there's a lot of things, if you get one of these, that are going to need fixing. Wiring loom particularly, because they get soaked in oil, all the rubbers, fuel injection stuff, fuel lines perish and leak fuel on your hot exhaust. There's just so much maintenance. Thankfully, some nice gentleman, Paul, seems to have done all that work already on this car, or done a lot of it. Let's not pretend that there won't be a lot more, but it's definitely a car you're going to need to keep spending money on if you want to keep driving it. And I want to keep driving this car because of the 5 928s I've owned. This is clearly the best.
Porsche lädt Sie zu einer sehr schnellen Testfahrt ein. Beschleunigung 5,7 Sekunden.
Scheiße, das ist ein schnelles Auto.
Drehmoment 500 Newtonmeter. Höchstgeschwindigkeit 275 Kilometer pro Stunde. Porsche, bei dem allen Testfahrer Anzug und Krawatten tragen.
So, sagst du 928?
Nein, 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 immer 928, du quadratische Kopfbeier.
Warum redest du so?
Es klingt einfach gut mit dem verrückten Akzent.
When it first came out, I thought, oh, that's weird. We just thought it was very odd looking. All the other 911 owners thought the same. They said, that's not a real Porsche. Well, you couldn't have a more real Porsche. It was a total ground-up design that owes absolutely nothing to the VW Beetle heritage. The 928, thanks to Tony Lepine and Ferdy Porsche, is just a magnificent design, way ahead of its time. An Executive Express, an Autobahn-crushing beast of a car with a front-engine V8, rear-wheel drive, 50-50 weight distribution because they put half the mechanicals at the back, solid torque tube down the middle, transaxle design. As modern cars get uglier and more contrived, and just look at the the most recent BMWs, you know. Look at the BMW iX, you know. So the older cars like this just seem to get more and more elegant. Why does a 911, an early 911, look more beautiful every year? Is it actually improving, or is it just that modern cars are getting worse? So let me tell you about the 5 928s I've owned. Back in the 1990s, I bought my first one. It was ruby red, a 1984 928 S2. And I had that 7 years, took it to the track occasionally, but soon found out they're not really a track car unless you do a lot of work on the suspension. They're a bit of an understeery pig, and then that translates into progressive oversteer. So you feel like you're manhandling them around the track. They can be exceptional on the track if you do a lot of work, but no, it's not a track car. It's an executive express. Later on, I moved to a 89 928 S4, the later model body shape, and that was linen metallic, that car. Had it a couple of years, got pestered by a young guy at work who wanted it, and eventually I relented and sold it to him way too cheaply. And unfortunately, he didn't love it enough because he crashed it twice in the first week of ownership. He ruined a car that hitherto for 16 years had been perfect. I felt guilty of having sold it to him. I should never have done that. Anyway, when it was fixed, and I said, if ever you sell that car, come to me and I'll buy it. I'll pay more than you paid for it, a lot more, and I'll buy it back. He didn't listen. He took it to a dealer who gave him 12 grand to trade on a Camry or something. And I let him know in no uncertain terms that he was an absolute idiot and said, listen mate, you just burned $10,000. I was very annoyed, as much as with myself as with him. Anyway, that's history now. Spent a number of years after that in other Porsches, the 944, 911 Carrera, 911 Turbo, 996 Turbo, absolute beast of a car. And I thought, maybe something, let's go back to my roots and check that view out. Back to third, 100k an hour. Is that not beautiful? Yes, it is. But late last year, for some inexplicable reason, I decided though I wanted a 928, and somehow I must have got some sort of disease because in the last 9 months I've bought not one, not two, but 3 928s. Here's my champagne one. I bought at auction at the end of last year quite cheaply because it has 325,000 Ks. It's an 84 928S 4-speed, and it's I won't say it's tired, but you can see lots of videos about that one. It's actually a really nice car for what it is. I don't know what's wrong with me. Every time I see a 928 I go, ooh, that's a nice 928, I better buy that. And then I see a better one. Ooh, that's a better 928 than mine. Maybe I'll sell mine and buy that one. So I go and buy that one. Then I go, but I like the old one, I'll keep it. Then I see another 928. I go, ooh, that's even nicer. So I bought that one. So about 2 months ago, I saw this blue one at auction. It passed in, and then a month or so later it came back to auction again. I thought, oh, the vendor's really hungry, he wants to get rid of it. Cursory inspection. Oh my God. He spent so much money. As you can see, look at this. Passenger interior is very desirable these days. Resprayed, full engine rebuild. And that's the trick with 928s. If you've got the choice between buying an old beater and spending a lot of money to fix it up, or buying one that somebody else has already fixed up, go for plan B. Much better idea. Anyway, well, let's just say I got it for less than the cost of what he'd spent in the last couple of years fixing it up. But then, only a week or two ago, I saw this car, this turquoise. It's called petrol blue metallic, petrol blue. So I didn't have to have it. I had a limited auction and I bid up to that limit, and thank heavens that was enough. It's a 2-owner car. Previous owner had it 15 years, and undoubtedly he would have spent twice what I paid for this car in maintenance, just in keeping it going. I don't expect that'll stop. I expect I'll have to keep spending money, but there you go. I now have my very first manual gearbox 928, and I can tell you right now, after driving it for one day, I'm going to keep it. It's a keeper. Like all good cars, it shrinks around you the faster you go. Now let's get to the twisties. This is Brown Mountain. And we're not going to attack it stupidly. We're just going to drive it nicely. can't help my bag swinging around, sorry. Yeah, this is not what you'd call a light and nimble car. You've got to set it up before each corner, move the weight around, balance it, lean it on its kangaroo there. I'm just avoiding getting over the line. See here, we'll just leave it in third. Reverse dogleg gearbox. Yeah. Back to second. Fairly loose. What I can tell you is these tyres are way past it. Yeah, gonna have to be careful up here. They actually don't have a lot of grip at all. They're just old. Down so we can hear it. Normally when you go on a spirited drive you can smell engine smells and coolant and things, but I can actually smell tyres because they're too old. And here we have some traffic. Well, that was kind of fun, but we're starting to see limitations of the old car. Okay, I can't do too much of that. Temperature normal, oil pressure fine, 2 bar at idle, 2.5. Fantastic.
Oh yes, look at that Pasha interior. That is gorgeous. In 20 years' time, everyone's going to hate it, but in 40 years' time, it'll be back in fashion. Although that gear stick is never going to be back in fashion. Can you shorten that by about 5 inches? But I like the jacket, that's good. But lose the jeans.
Safety is assured by high flexibility polyurethane.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing too much of that voluntarily. Oh good, shopping in Paris, now we're talking. Although it's a different wife. Can you use the same one, please? Oh my God, now you're going around Paris roundabouts? This is a high-risk activity. We won't get too much of that. Watch out for that Peugeot taxi. Oh my God, Rue Soufflot from the Pantheon? No, that was really close. No, this is way too risky. Any moment, a little French bread van's going to pull out in front of you and you have to hit the brakes, so I wouldn't be doing any of that. Watch out for the truck. Oh God, Place de la Concorde with a bus. No, none of that. That's just way too anxiety producing. Lose all that stuff. Yeah, perfect. Just wipe the taillight off that Audi as well. Let's just chill a little bit. How about up to the chateau? Oh yes, oh yes. Now you got me. Although it would probably help if we lost the Citroën XM, which is a rival car, out of the shot. And up to yet another chateau. Oh yes, that's a good one. Now of course we need a doorman with the suit and the suitcase. Perfect. Obviously you're going to put the suitcases in first and the jacket goes on top. No. Yes, just make sure you don't put the suitcases down on top of the suit. Don't crush the suit. No. No. Fail. And don't slam the boot. Oh God. Yeah, perfect. Can you try and find some roads that are actually wide enough to fit the car?
From a film like this, you can get some impression of what motoring in its finest form is like.
All right, that's a bit of a fail. Do it again. I don't want to see all that Paris traffic. I want to lose the violins. I want to see more suitcases and butlers. And just one wife, please. Not the teenage one and not the old one. I want something in between. No sandals, and don't slam the frigging boot. Otherwise, not too bad.
Turn left onto Snowy Mountains Highway, B72.
Now, if you don't already think I'm totally mad, those of you who know I'd like to do an electric 928. Well, good news, people. None of these three cars is really suitable for that. They're all way too nice. I need to find one that's already beyond hope to restore. Resto Mod, modern day hot rodder. It's quite a slow gearbox. It doesn't like you to rush it, but it doesn't like you to take too much time. If you go to fourth, quickly like that, if you go to fifth, that's fine. Do it slowly, very slowly into fifth. No, I can feel the synchros come to a stop and it graunches a little bit, so got to get it. Double shuffling's good. To third, straight to fourth, yep. It's a gearbox you have to learn. Okay, that's good. Steering, delightful. It's heavy, much heavier than a Boxster or a Cayman or a 911. But you get used to that. It loads up a little bit, but really good feel. Brake pedal's really good, but the tyre grip is not good. So even though they're a good brand, Yokohamas at the back, they're tired. Tyres have a shelf life; they go off. You know, so don't think just because there's plenty of tread on them that they're necessarily okay. I can feel that they've just gone a bit hard. Suspension that I thought was a little bit too soft yesterday. Yeah, it's on the super tight stuff. It is too soft, but the faster the roads go, actually, the better it feels. You know, it's fine. We've got aircon that actually works. He said it didn't work, but it does. Normally that's the other way around. It even has cruise control that doesn't work. It has a radio that was working but has stopped working, but it's an aftermarket Kenwood, so we'll change it for a Becker or a Blaupunkt or something a bit more period correct. No airbags, no ABS, no computer, no trip computer. What's my fuel economy? I've got no idea. Not very good. Thirsty old V8, old tyres, not a lot of modern safety stuff, no autonomous emergency braking, lane assist or anything like that, just old-fashioned analog car, so much a car ahead of its time, but whose time has probably passed, like mine. Today I've been paying $2.26 per litre, so that's how I drop $100 of fuel in it every 3 or 4 hours, so yeah, that adds up. Bring on an EV world, that's what I say. Why would you think it's the guy who's always rabbiting on about EVs got yet another V8 gas-guzzling monster to drive around in? I cannot answer that question. Well, the trip's nearly over. So, what's the verdict? On the tight, twisty stuff, there are plenty of faster cars now. But really, this is what this car's designed for. Crushing autobahns. Unfortunately, in Australia, that means 110 k's an hour. Disappointing. Yesterday, in fuel economy is not the right word. We used 17 litres per 100k, and considering some of it was quite spirited, I'll take that. That's not too bad. Hopefully on the cruise home to Sydney, we'll do 14 though, something like that.
You'll be pleased to know that the car got me home without the faintest hiccup. But you knew it would, without a single stone chip or even a bug daring to besmirch that gorgeous paint. For the last stretch home with a very light right foot, fuel economy was about 13 litres per 100k, which is 18 US miles per gallon or 21 imperial mile per gallon. Not great, but that's the best I think I could ever expect. With the tank of dinosaur juice now costing $185 for a maximum range of about 600 kilometres, this car is unlikely to be my everyday driver. For as long as I've been a 928 owner, I've been waiting for the values to take off, as they have done stratospherically for any air-cooled Porsche of similar vintage. A rising tide floats all the boats, they said, but for the 928 that really hasn't proven to be the case, for as long as I can remember. Second-hand values remain relatively low. The main reason? Because the 928 had a reputation of being a cheap supercar when they were about 10 or 15 years old, a lot of people bought them, but then balked at the expensive and regular maintenance they needed. And at 40 years of age, there is a lot that needs to be constantly checked. The price of an engine rebuild after a timing belt failure, camshaft breakage, or the radiator oil and water intermingling that happens, or a torque tube that hasn't been checked, will often be more than the car is worth. Consequently, people are afraid of the 928, and there are a lot of old bangers out there that you really don't want to buy at any price. So you could say that all those cars are keeping the tide low, so to speak. They're cheap. But the really good ones, the low mileage, always garaged and serviced GT and GTS cars, are holding their value pretty well and appreciating. So now I have one pretty okay champagne 928 and two really good blue ones. Optimist that I am, I live in hope, as I have done for 25 years, that the 928 tide is still coming in. I'd be very interested in your opinion, so please leave a comment. Thank you for watching what is a very long video. I hope you enjoyed it.
So if you're new to the channel, please have a look around. There's heaps of reviews. It's not just old bangers like this thing. There's modern electric cars, classics, exotics, supercars, really fast cars and racing cars. So Mark and I thank you for your patronage, and we'll see you on the next one.
Oh hey, you made it right through to the end of the video. Congratulations. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please share it with your motoring friends. And above all, click the little subscribe thing down here so you can see the latest videos when we bring them out, hopefully each week. I look forward to seeing you soon.